What up? It's Golden Spaces, an Odyssey original podcast. I am Nat, and I'm here with Justin, and the Warriors have been eliminated from the playoffs. It's been a while since we've had this. Second round, 6 games, so not the worst in the world, but yeah, they're eliminated. So there's a part of me, Justin, I'm not gonna lie to you, that feels relieved. Like this
No, I'm not
season,
gonna lie.
this
No,
season
I
has
feel the same way.
been, yeah, so up and down. And it's just like, it definitely sucks to lose, but I don't want Steph losing no more finals. I want any other finals he gets to, he wins. So that's
Hmm.
honestly how I feel about that. And he deserves better. He deserves better. And like no one showed up for him in tonight. They haven't really showed up for him in this series. I still think it was an awful decision by Steve Kerr to not play Jonathan Kuminga or try him at all in this series.
Hmm.
And they really should have won game 1 or game 4, because even if they don't win any games on the road, it's just a 7-game series and you likely win it at home, in game 7. And so,
Hmm.
but just like, going into this series, like all the Reeves better than Jordan Poole, we're just beyond that. Like their bench players gave them something and like our guys did not. And like I just did not foresee that. I didn't foresee Jonathan Kuminga not being in the rotation. I did not foresee Dante shrinking sort of the way he did. I mean, he did show up tonight. Shout out to him for that. I think he had like one other game, but in these playoffs, he hasn't been great. Jordan Poole, we all know what's up with him. Draymond Green, it's like, okay, so you were offended for one game last game, so you showed up, and then today, like, no force, no not like, bro, when you see no one
Hmm.
else is scoring, no one else is doing nothing. Steph in the post game the other day is saying when he's aggressive like that, it's good for us. Why are you not aggressive like that tonight? Why? I don't understand. Why are you not aggressive like that tonight?
that's that's been the story of the Warriors' entire season. Inconsistency, very high highs, very low lows,
And I mean,
and that's
after he withstands that first punch for y'all and gets y'all back in at the beginning of the game, and still then none of y'all could show up.
hmm
It just let me first of all, I'm excusing Wiggs from this. People may not like that, but Wiggs got hurt the last game. So like we didn't know what we could get from him. I'm not holding it against Wiggs. And Loon, he was out there rebounding and getting us some extra possession. So they're exempt from this. But for me, but everyone else, Klay Thompson, I I think the Warriors have to really think about Klay Thompson going forward. Like yeah, I get it, shot variance, all of that, but I don't think you can rely on him to be Steph's number 2.
hmm
Like you can't. I mean, he can't give you, I don't think, consistent enough performances.
I
Um,
agree. I agree that he shouldn't necessarily be relied on to be the number two. Um, but the only thing that I'll say to that is that last year he wasn't really relied on to be the number two, and they still had enough, around stuff because Jordan was so good. Um, it was kind of like a number two by committee thing, and I thought, and I do still think that that formula can work going forward. It's just that committee just can't have multiple guys on it that aren't showing up. So
yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to think about Jordan Poole. Like, I want to be clear that I don't think Jordan Poole has lost his talent, but I don't know if he's going to find his way on this team. Meaning, like, I didn't think it was going to come back this postseason, but I just don't know if it's going to come back because to me it is clear that Jordan Poole is not happy in his situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's mental at this point. So yeah, does a fresh new season maybe change that? Yeah, but I don't see how it's going to work. He wants to be starting. I don't think he's done anything to demonstrate that he should be on this team or any team. But at the end of the day, it's like I understand that desire that he has. I understand that desire that Kuminga has. And I just, if the plan is just to continue with our starting five as the starting five, I don't know what you're going to do with all these young guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do
That's
also
true.
deserve to be like playing and,
And I mean, Shams just right on time dropped this article pretty much detailing that reality and saying that, Kaminga's people are going to come to the Warriors and say, hey, if I can't play going forward, send me somewhere else. And he's correct about that. Like, he's right to be feeling that way. Moody too. I mean, Moody played in this series and he played in the playoffs, but after the whole season of not playing, he has to be thinking like, well, I played last playoffs too. Like they need to either, you know, get these young guys up to speed as quick as they can, which requires playing them, or move them for players that you trust more to play. Um,
and
and
you're
as simple as
seeing
that.
they're on the bench and they're like, look at Klay. He's playing like shit. So why can't I get time? That's what they thinking.
Yeah. Look at Draymond not showing up for half of the series. Um, it's just it was sadly doomed to fail from the beginning. But we always held our hope because you put hope into Steph, pretty much, and he tried his best. Like his shot kind of went a little bit in this series, but he's had to carry such a crazy load all this season, and in that especially in that first round series to get
And
them
they've
to
been
this
playing
point,
every other night. They've been playing every other night. And the
playing every
Lakers are
other
putting
night.
him to work. So I don't care if his shot is gone because his shot was gone. But it's not like, remember in 20, all the years when KD won finals MVP, it was because on nights where he wasn't shooting well, right? He didn't score a
Mhm,
lot of points and he shot badly. Steph is still getting close to 30 and still, his 3-point shot isn't there, but he's still like
mhm,
playmaking. He was still scoring. So I don't really give a shit how inefficient he was, to be honest. Um,
right.
they didn't give him nothing,
Yeah,
and he deserves better.
for sure. And they got to do all they can to give him the best shot to continue competing to win championships going forward. Whatever that
Well,
looks like, they have to do it.
I just hope he's going to be a little bit more.
Hands on. That
Not
was
only
mine.
that, but I hope he's going to be a little bit more like throwing his weight around because I
Hmm.
get it that they won last year, but we knew that the vets always had like concerns about this plan. And like to me, Steph
Hmm.
could have shut down the plan. You know what I'm saying? He could have shut down the plan. And
He
he
could
didn't,
have.
and all this like trusting them and trusting everybody. And like, you know what I'm saying? They did not set you up to succeed. They're not setting up any of those young guys to succeed. So, you gotta really think about what the approach is gonna be.
Hmm.
Because someone has to get traded to get other pieces.
Correct.
And it still seems like Poole is the best person to do that with. But that
Correct.
being said, even if you do that, you still have like, what are you doing with Jonathan Kuminga? What are you doing with him?
I mean, I think
And
it's leaning more and more.
huh?
Yeah, I think it's leaning more and more in the direction of him being packaged as well. Um, those two contracts combined is about 34 million next year. Two young players that are obviously going to be pretty good in the future going forward. You know, they've obviously they're drafted by the Warriors, and it would be sad to see those guys go. But at the end of the day, when you're competing for championships, first and foremost, it has to be ride with Steph to the wheels fall off because you're not going to get another player of his caliber for another lifetime. So, as much as you like the young guys and see them get drafted and you want to see them do well, uh, you gotta lean into what has made you a dynasty, and you gotta lean into Steph and those guys. So
Moody
if it
right
has to come to
now,
that, it got to come to that.
yeah, I mean, Moody right now is the only one, and I mean, I don't think he is as good as Klay, obviously, but he's like the only one in terms of, because it's just like I always think about like, okay, well, because like positionally, like Jonathan Kuminga can't do what Dre does. So Dre is like to me almost safe by default in a way because
Mhm.
but to me Klay is the tricky one, and it's just like same thing with Andrew Wiggins because first of all you need his defense. He covers for Klay on some level. I
Mhm.
remember saying one time that you know I wasn't sure if the Warriors were going to sign Wiggs resign him because I'm like, that creates a natural conflict with Jonathan Kuminga.
Oh, yeah.
And I got like, you know, people were coming at me acting like I was saying like I don't want wigs. And that's not what I was saying. And I love wigs. But it's just
Hmm.
like there's nowhere for him. So when people like he has to like earn his spot, who's he gonna earn it over? Who's he gonna earn it
Right.
over? It
Right.
doesn't mean he can't play well and help, but who's he gonna earn it over? It can only be Dre or it can only be Wiggs.
Pretty much.
It can only be
Unless
one of
they,
those two. And
yeah,
Wiggs is in his prime. He's not like,
yeah,
older.
exactly. I mean, unless Dre just moved full time to center, which is not going to happen. You're right. So it was. I mean, it was one of those things that's almost like too good to be true. I mean, obviously, it was always too good to be true to try to do these two things at the same time. Um, and if you are going to do it, you have to do it with a player like a Moses Moody, who, both from a personality standpoint and just from a game standpoint, he's not looking to take someone's starting spot anytime soon. Obviously, he's confident in himself, and I'm sure he would like to play heavy minutes and start. And every player wants that, but it just doesn't seem like that's his path. Like I said, he always has more like a loony path to me, where like maybe year 5, 6 or something, he becomes a full time starter, and takes off from there. But leading up to that point, he should be kind of like in that super sub. Depending on the matchup, he can play a lot and really make a difference type of high value, low cost player. Um, and those are the type of, if you're going to bring in young guys, those are the young guys you have to bring in. You're not going to groom the next superstar underneath a current generational
Without playing
talent
him. Without
without
playing
playing
him.
them. Right. It's just
And I
not,
think
it's
it's
just not going
crazy
to
that
happen.
people think that they're selfish. Like it's like, do you at your job sit and be like, okay, I won't go for a promotion. I won't go for something. I won't try because it's this person's time. I'm just going to wait. And I'm like, it's one thing if
Hmm.
you're saying, okay, wait 6 months, maybe wait a year. This is going to be years.
Right.
Like, do people realize that?
That's what shows you that the thought process behind this entire thing was, oh, they're gonna be done in like a year or two. Klay, two major injuries. He's gonna be not that good. You know what I mean? And he didn't have the best playoffs this year, but I do think he's much more capable of playing better. Like if he just wasn't capable of playing any better, like he's has no burst, he's washed, all that type of stuff. Sure, I think he legitimately just slumped at a terrible time, and he had his normal space cadet moments and stuff like that that he needs to clean up. But it didn't look like Klay and Dre were just washed out there. It just looked like they were playing bad, and those are two different things to me.
Yeah, but
So
I mean,
I think they're
honestly, you can't rely on them to play well in like at these moments. Dre had to get benched last year in the Boston series. There were
for
matchups
sure.
that were not good for him. I mean, those to me too are also things that we got to take into consideration. Like, yeah, Dre is the quarterback of the defense, but we got to get some other like impactful kind of players that like because
I
you
agree.
know
This
it,
and you take that into consideration with how you form the rest of the roster. Because the reality behind it is no one's taking Dre's contract and no one's taking Clay's contract at when they're playing like this. You're not going to get the value back for them that you have with them. Like no one is taking in that 40 million from
no,
Clay and
for
giving you
sure
back
you're
anything
not.
substantial.
I mean, I don't even know if
So
Dre is going to get the kind of contract that he's seeking. So I feel like he's probably just going to opt in, but
for sure,
Clay
he's going
has
to opt in.
Clay has what, another year, right?
I think another 2, maybe. I got to double check that, but
Let's look.
yeah. But I mean, I think last year they lucked into the formula, right? They kind of threw something at the wall, said, okay, we're going to bring in Otto, take a chance on him. We're going to bring in Gary, take a chance on him, bring in Belly, take a chance on him. And they just happened to be 3 of the better role players in the NBA that season because they fit the Warriors system so well. And in those moments where Clay wasn't his best, where Dre wasn't his best, you had a guy like Otto that you can plug in. Obviously, Jordan was playing much better last season. Uh, and the combination of Jordan and Gary together and Otto together, it just made up for when Clay and Dre weren't at their best. And they were already flawed players even at their peaks, but now at older ages and stuff like that, they're definitely going to be even more flawed. And just understanding how the money works is how the dynamics of the league work, where you're just not going to get that value back for them in any trades. You have to do what you can to supplement them, like around them, to make them better and cover up for when they aren't as good, or be able to sit them for a few minutes, like bench them, like that's just how
Yeah.
it has to go.
Clay is up
And if you
next
got
year.
to
That's what I thought. Sorry, I'm looking.
at the end
2024.
of at the end of next, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that
so
makes
he has
sense.
one more year.
Yeah,
And if like Dre
and Dre has
opted
a
in,
player
and
option,
if they did, yeah.
right? That makes sense. Yeah, so they're both unrestricted. If Dre opts in, they're both unrestricted at the end of next season.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean
Clay,
they should be
he
like
can't get no
20
max
million
deal. I know that's
players.
what he wanted, but
He ain't
max
getting
deal.
close to that. He's not getting
No.
close to that. And that's okay. I mean, I don't see him saying like, all right, y'all not gonna give me max, I'm leaving. I just don't see that. It's
And
like,
also, no
bro,
one's
you're
going to pay him
probably
that. No one's
nobody's
going to
gonna
pay him that.
exactly. And that's why it's just like, to
The
me,
only
you're
player
kind
they
of
have that's worth max money is
it's Steph.
Steph. But like honestly, I'm at the point because like this is how I felt in 2016, right? It's like I never thought they needed Kevin Durant, and I still maintain that, right? But I used to always say Steph never had a true number 2. And people would be like,
Mm,
wait, and I'm just like, he never had a true number 2. That is not what Clay is. If Clay was a true number 2, when Steph was injured in 2016, they would have leaned more into Klay Thompson. And they didn't, and
mhm,
they could not. The way that it was like a 2-man game between between LeBron and Kyrie,
right.
can't do that with Clay.
Yeah, because he cannot create
Now,
his
like
own shot at an elite level.
Kevin Durant was just a way better version of what you needed. Neither one of them
Hmm.
were really a number 2. It was like 2 ones. But the
Right.
point is that Steph deserves to have a second co-star, just like the way everyone else does. And so while I agree with you that there's probably a formula to it being Steph and then getting him really good help, I do think they need to really try to look into getting him a second star. I do. Like one, it can be like a B-level person, whatever. I'm not saying it has to be, and I don't even know who that could be, but I'm just saying someone who can create for themselves, for others, who can be
Hmm.
reliable. I know some people look at Paul George as like not a reliable number 2, but like to me, it's like a Paul George level player.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I mean,
And I don't know who that is, but I'm
I'm
just
not a
saying that, huh?
yeah. No, I'm saying I'm
Yeah.
I'm not against that at all. I find it hard to see how that happens, like how it comes about.
I mean, you
Like
never
theoretically,
know.
money wise, I mean, yeah, you never know it, but like money wise, one of Clay or Dre or one of the next level of contracts underneath Steph could match somebody, but I just don't
But
see
Klay
anybody.
becomes more attractive since next year is his last year. It's an expiring contract, right? Sort of like Russ.
Yeah. You also just kind of need a special situation where there's another, disgruntled star somewhere, or kind of like it was what Russ for CP3, right? Uh,
Yeah, I mean, look, I know people are not gonna like it, and it's just not. But like, their only path to getting someone is to trade, and so it's like, yes, Jordan, and maybe a Jordan and Kaminga kind of deal gets it done, but
mhm,
but then it's like, what about your depth? How do you fill out
mhm.
then you're like top heavy like the Suns. And then even if you
Yeah,
keep a Klay and you bring in a guy like that, is Klay going to accept being third, or because I've always thought that Klay was when things like over time would like play out, I always thought Klay was the likely target and should be the person that probably comes off the bench. But we've heard reports that Klay never wants to do that, and he doesn't, right? And so that's what I mean. Like, to me, of everyone, Klay's ego has actually been the hardest to manage.
yeah, I agree on that for sure. I mean, it's not really arguable. Yeah, it's just they got a lot to think about. Obviously, they got to make sure Bob is. Well, they don't have to make sure Bob is there, but I think it would be beneficial if they,
To be honest,
straighten
I
that
don't even
Bob
mind if
Myers
Bob leaves.
situation
I
out.
know everyone's acting like he is but like, to me, I think you need fresh voices. And if it's not going to be in the form of a coach, like just someone else who may have like good insight, like just thinks differently. Cause like, to me, you keep in Bob and it's more of the same, like the same kind of thinking, the same kind of, we don't shake things up a certain way. We don't do things a certain way. And like, I think it's good to make change. And maybe if Bob leaves, Kerr may say, okay, after this last contract, I'm leaving. I don't want to stay. Because I think Kurt and Bob are very closely linked. You know, People always think I'm crazy and they think I'm like, I'm not suggesting a blow up of things. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think we can say that the league has on some level caught up to the Warriors and the way that they play. I'm not saying that they're still not hard to beat, but like, all the split
The
action and the fucking
mhm,
motion and all of that bullshit, people are more prepared and equipped
for sure,
to bend that. And it's
and
like, and their rigidity, like, okay, we're not going to bring in a big. They don't normally do that. We know the Warriors don't make moves, right? In the middle of the season, typically. So the GP2 thing was like a big thing, but they don't make moves. They don't do buyouts, right? These are things we can predict with certainty with them. And
mhm,
that's why I'm
and
saying, like, I don't mind if it's a new voice. I really don't.
and in my opinion, all those things come back to Joe first, right? Because the rigidity in the system is directly tied to who's on the roster, right? They're going to run the split actions because Dre and Luna aren't offensive threats, right? But if you get a big in there that isn't James Wiseman, that can actually finish lobs and provide like a JaVale McGee type of vibe, I guarantee they would change up their offense a little bit, right? If they have an Otto Porter out there, it makes those split actions, all that type of stuff, a little bit more potent and harder to stop, right? So if Joe's vetoing trades or he's vetoing roster moves because he wants James Wiseman to shine, it severely limits the things that Bob and Steve can do with the roster construction and with the on court product. Um, so I mean, I personally think the voices that need to be changed is Joe Lacob's voice, right? He just needs to take his voice mostly out of the decisions, the basketball
And
decisions,
he's not going
and
to
let the
do
people
that.
who do it.
He's not going to do that, but maybe there might be someone who can get through to him or persuade him or convince him. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that Bob has the power to do that, because honestly, if he's going to be in decisions regardless, then it doesn't matter if it's Bob or anyone else. If he's going to, you know, have the ultimate final say, but sometimes maybe someone else can persuade him. And you know, I understand that it's basketball and it's not like corporate America, but it's still a business. And companies that succeed and thrive all the time, they change heads and owners and management all the time, even when they're thriving, because you just want new direction or new change or something. So I am not one of these people who's like, oh my God, Bob Myers is leaving. Like, if he stays, he stays. But part of me is interested in the idea of who else they might be able to like go out there and get.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. I just ultimately think even if it's a new person, if it's going to come from the top that you do what I say you do, then it really don't matter in my
Right, but I
opinion.
don't
Like,
think we know the extent to which, like, we know that Joe Lacob like dibbles and dabbles and sticks his head in, but I don't know like the degree of if it's like he really, you know what I'm saying, pushes back, or you know what I mean, because we know that, for example, he didn't want to or he was like, should we really pay Steph like this contract? And like Bob was like, yes, right. And so, or you know, like he eventually had to be convinced to trade Wiseman, and he got there. But I guess what I'm saying is like, and like, look, people know, they talk, they hear things. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like, if someone new is coming in, part of that person's, because like if you go with the same person, like even if, because I think with Bob it's a money thing, right? It's a money thing, and they don't want to pay Bob and make him like the highest paid GM in the league, right? So, and then there could be other things, but it's largely a money thing, right? So, but if you get Bob, it's more of the same. But you don't know, someone else could come in and be like, okay, yeah, but like I have to really be able to have like autonomy. Like you can't, you know what I'm saying? And that like that's part of something you can negotiate. Now, it doesn't mean in practice that it actually happens, but that's what I'm saying, and someone else could be more persuasive than Bob. It doesn't mean because like Joe Lacob, because it may just be someone who speaks his language or knows how to get through to him in a different way. You know what I mean? So, because I don't know Bob's personality. I don't know what he does. I don't know, whatever. And it has to matter. Like, when Jerry West was there, he could say threaten to leave, and that was enough to make
mhm,
them, change their minds. But then when they started winning, the hubris, it got the
mhm,
arrogance, it got too big, and then they felt like they didn't need him. And I mean, they might argue they're right because he's gone on to another org, and while he's made great moves for them, none of those orgs, have done anything. Was really just the Clippers, right? They've made some major moves, but they haven't won anything. And the Warriors have still won without him. So they're probably like, see, that's why we didn't need to do that. Like, even though Jerry West is still a good voice to have, for them, that's validation that they were doing it right. But now it failed. It didn't work out. And so now it's like, okay, we need to reassess things. And so we'll see where that goes. But, if people are not being really introspective, you know what I'm saying? And like Steph got to be real, because there's no way you're telling me Steph is looking around because he wants a
mhm,
fifth. He wants more rings. And you
mhm.
can't tell me he's looking around and not like if Denver goes on to win it this year, because like the Celtics, they look shaky. Even if they get out of
Mhm.
that series, they look shaky. You know, who knows what's going to happen with the Sixers after this year? Ain't nobody in the East like the Bucks. Everyone knows that's like
That's
they might be
probably
in
getting
a
blown up,
regular season team again, but who knows, right? So
and who knows if they're even going to be together
right.
next season.
So
Mm.
it's like then you look at the West, and I still don't think the Warriors, they lost, but I don't think the Warriors believe that the Lakers are like some real
Mhm.
big threat to them who they can't beat. I don't think that they think that, right?
Right,
And the games don't
and they
actually
shouldn't.
Right. And the games don't suggest that. And then next year, Braun is another year older, and then they also
Mhm.
have contract stuff to figure out because Reeves, and then I don't know, was Dennis Schroeder just like does he have a long contract or was it like just for this year? So they have
I thought it was just for this year. Yeah.
so they have things they have to figure out, right? So Denver is really the only team that is sort of like, okay, because like the Suns, you wonder how are they going to be able to fill out that bench, right? And they want to trade Chris Paul, but who the hell wants Chris Paul? I don't know if that's his
Knows.
last year, because I think when they re-signed him, it was like a 3-year deal, right? And I don't know if this is the second or
Mhm.
third year of the deal. So unless it's expiring, though, who wants Chris Paul? So they're going to be looking to shop him, but who wants him?
He got 2 more years on this deal.
2 more years. Ayton is
Not
really their
fully
only trade
guaranteed though.
piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayton is their only trade piece. And
So yeah, they
do you
might be
get
stuck
enough
too.
back for Ayton to fill out your bench? Probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, no, I don't think so.
Kevin Durant can't stay healthy for like most of the season, hasn't shown the ability to be able to, right? And
Mhm.
so, like, are they looking at the Suns as a threat? No. The Grizzlies, well, they'll actually get better without Dylan Brooks, but they still have some weaknesses. So I don't think he's looking around like, damn, there's no one. But like, I also don't think he's looking at his team like we can keep doing this. And I'm not saying like, oh, just Jordan Poole. I think he's looking at Klay. I think he's looking at Dre. Like, I know he knows like they need Dre, but I also know he's like, yo, these like,
Mhm.
he gotta
I mean,
be.
everything's on the table. I think everything's on the table.
That's what I think
Um,
everything but Steph. I really do. And people are not going to like that, but everything has to be on the table because it's with him. It's everything starts and ends with him.
for sure. Um, yeah, like I said, everything should be on the table. It's just which path makes the most sense? Which path do you think leads to a sustainable level of success, at least for the next 2 or 3 seasons that Steph is playing at this level? Um, for me personally, I think the the path that has the least amount of risk attached to it is in some capacity running it back with a retooled uh you know the retooling outside of the foundation, right? Retooling out of the main guys, i.e. the starting five, right? Because I mean, just basketball wise, it makes sense. And then we also saw it work last season. So, you can bring in some new pieces. And we've seen with all these other teams, obviously all these other teams don't have Steph on it, but we've seen so many teams like just grab a guy in the offseason in a reaction to losing, and then it just doesn't work the next season. And it's
Yeah,
just,
but
I don't know.
I was concerned about Clay last year too. It's not like a reaction to this year. And now he's just another year older and my concerns are still the same. And same for
For sure.
Dre. It's like these are not like based on this. And it's like they're going to be another year older.
Yeah.
So
You're not
that's
wrong.
my thing. It's not like it's they lost this year. Like they just won last year, but that was last year and they're another year older. And this is a contract year for Dre. And he was not
Mhm.
able to demonstrate that he should get the contract that he's looking for. It was a contract year and you were trying to get or demonstrate you should get a certain contract and I don't think he demonstrated that.
No, I mean, they all should be getting paid around what Wiggins got extended for. I think somewhere around, whether it's a little bit above or a little bit under. I mean, probably a little bit under for both of those guys, considering their age and considering, Wiggins is probably from this point on, like just better than them. Um, so yeah, somewhere like just above 20 million a year. I think that's what they will get. Dre probably opts in for this upcoming season because he knows beyond this season he's not getting that much more than 20 million a year. And yeah, give him like 2 years, 45, both of them. 2026, y'all done. In my opinion, that's what they should do if they can't find something that makes a lot of sense. Like if they can just grab KD from the Suns or something, something crazy that's like, all right, this makes too much sense. Steph gets his legitimate second star, and we can fill out the rest of the roster from here and go at it. If that isn't on the table, just run it back. You can potentially shop JP, shop JK if they aren't happy and they want to go somewhere else, and you can find some different depth pieces to go around the core and run it back next season, because we just saw, even with Klay and Dre being pretty bad for more than half of this series, they were right there, right? They lost 4-2, but the two of those losses were close end of the game losses, 1-2 possession games. So they were right there to going back to the Western Conference Finals again. And, they would have been at a disadvantage against Denver, but, 1 or 2 extra pieces that are actually working for you could have been the difference between going back to the finals again and this outcome that we got today. So,
Yeah, but it bugs me that in those 1-2 losses, like, that you couldn't trust guys who have, like, been to a championship multiple times to make the right decisions. That's concerning to me. And I don't know what that's about.
it is concerning.
And we saw it throughout the season. We saw it throughout the season. And I don't mean to seem like I'm picking on Klay, but I do think his ego is the bigger concern.
He got to check that, or they got to check that in some capacity. Definitely. It started this season with the shot taking early in the season. We were pointing it out. That has to be checked over the summer. And what better reality check than getting punched in the mouth in the second round and losing after winning a championship the previous season, right? If it's not clear to them at this point, Draymond and Klay specifically, Klay, higher IQ, take better shots, dumb your ego down a little bit. Draymond, same thing, dumb your ego down a little bit. Don't punch your teammates and set a bad mood for the rest of the season.
And stop talking on the back of Steph. Stop it.
Right.
Stop talking on the back of Steph. That's what annoys me. That's what
Yeah.
Both of those two annoy me for different reasons. They really do.
I mean, it is all rooted in the fact that, like you just said, they talk on the back of Steph. It's like, yeah, you guys are Hall of Famers. You are 2 of the greatest players of all time. But you got to understand, if your leader isn't acting out the way that y'all acting out, and he's the one that's actually delivering most of, if not all of the stuff that has made you guys so successful, then y'all should just follow suit and, do what y'all need to do, because they just need to look in the mirror.
Like, Dre love talking about 16-game players. Can we call you a 16-game player right now? Because you're not showing up in every fucking game.
Right.
You're not showing up in every game.
From him and just laying eggs.
Keep looking to give Dre a pass. And I'm just watching the whole season like, all I know is you dudes better show up in the fucking postseason. I was not one of the people mad at Klay when he was throwing up the 4. Because, like, to me, I'm like, I'm going to keep giving y'all the benefit of the doubt. But if you don't if you don't back up and do what you need to do.
Yeah. The 4 never really bothered me because it's. Yeah. I was just saying the 4 never really bothered me because, they got 4. Like, that doesn't. But what really bothers me is, like you said, talking as if like y'all just going to breeze through everybody and then going out and laying eggs. Right. That's what bothers me. If you want to talk about what you did in the past or whatever, cool, whatever, it's in the past, but you should definitely be able to celebrate yourself and things that you've accomplished. But when you talking the way that they be talking sometimes and you don't deliver in the present, that's when it's like, all right, dial that shit back, bro, because Steph ain't doing none of that. And he's the one that's delivering. So.
And you do get the credit for what you've done. It's not like you got to keep reproving it, but it's just like, that's just the way it works. Like, you get more leeway when you're still producing, when you're still doing something. And to me, again, it's not like I'm saying like I want to ship Klay off, but it's like at some point you got to think maybe a reduced role on the team is better for him. Like, Andre Iguodala came off the bench. and he closed games, but he wasn't a starter. Now there is no one right now that I think should be starting over Klay. But if they bring in someone who maybe should, it's like Andre was able to go to the bench, and I get it. He came in, he wasn't on the team and groomed, but he was a starter level player, and he agreed to come off the bench. Like you should
Mm-hmm.
be able to do it too if it's for the betterment of the team.
Agreed. Like you said last pod though, like the organization as a collective needs to just check their ego at the door at this point when they walking out the door to the off season to Cancun. Everybody got to check their ego at the door, and it's like they preach how the culture of the team embodies Steph and his personality, and we saw this season in particular how everybody but Steph just started to deviate from that core character of selflessness and team first and do whatever it takes to win. Like you said, started with Draymond punching JP, um, Joe Lacob, his whole personal goals and aspirations, just taking too much control over the team roster construction and basketball decisions. Steve Kerr with his ego as far as like not playing young players and just being so stubborn in his philosophies and not being able to adjust like other coaches have done. You know, even JP to an extent, he did get punched, but we can see he has an ego to him, and that's kind of caused some type of issues there as well. And they got to just get back to what made them this dynasty in the first place, and that's just egoless, selfless, sticking to the basketball stuff, doing things that make
Right, but
sense.
those young guys weren't a part of that. And I'm not
That's
saying
true.
like they weren't a part of that. And so I don't think you're going to get them to buy into that when they're so young in their careers. It's like they want to play, they want to make names for themselves. And I don't think they should have to give up the best. And that's not the best years of their career, but it's just like you have a
Hmm.
finite time to be a player in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, this is
And
why, like,
I do think what the Warriors are asking them is unfair. So it's just like, yeah, like Jordan, you're playing like doo-doo. So like, no, you shouldn't get on the court. But I understand the man's frustration at the same time.
yeah, this is the same stuff we were talking about with James Wiseman to an extent, where it's like you're not allowing him to grow as much as he could, and you're putting a tremendous amount of pressure on him, and you're trying to box in his role where clearly he has aspirations and potentially the talent to do much more. Um, so the ego comes with that, and you know James wasn't outwardly egotistical or anything like that, but you can see that Jordan is very confident in himself. Jonathan Kuminga is very confident in himself. So trying to put them into this box while also not playing them is just a recipe for disaster. And if you aren't going to play them and aren't give them the opportunity, um, then you should probably look to put them in a better situation, at least for them, right? If not for the betterment of the team, give them an opportunity to become the best versions of themselves that they can be, uh, because they're not going to be able to do that in Golden State if this type of stuff continues.
Mm. Well, we will see. We will see what happens. But I agree. I think everybody needs to be on the table, and you do what you need to do if something becomes available, because now it's the off season. Well, for them, not the off season, but it's they're done. And we'll see, because there's always some surprise. There's always someone who becomes available, someone who's not happy, there's always something we don't know about.
Hmm. And then there's stuff that we do know about. Obviously the OG Ananobi thing is something to monitor. It was apparently close to being done, or at least was getting entertained, and the Golden State pulled back their offer, I guess, or they just didn't like the offer from Golden State at the time. But that offer can now be changed at this point, and maybe it looks a little bit more attractive to them. Um, so we'll see. There's just a lot of different dynamics that can go on with that particular trade, but I do think changes need to be made, significant changes. How significant? We just gotta, I guess, see what's available and what makes the most sense. But yeah, the formula is there, but they just got to lean into that formula, in my opinion.
Yeah. Um, I didn't even see that Kaminga report. That dropped like when we had started recording after the game? Or when did Shams drop
Immediately, as soon as the buzzer went off, Shams let that thing go. That man is crazy.
He was holding that, just waiting.
He really was.
Mm, okay. Well, I'm gonna go read that. I'm not sure yet the next pod when me and Justin are gonna come back. We need a few days of rest. Um, we be like recording a lot, y'all. So this
Mhm.
this this is really time consuming, takes a lot of time. So, this is not no ducking of anything. Like if y'all were longtime listeners of All Net, even when the Warriors won the chip, I didn't even do
Right.
my like reflection episode for like 2 weeks. I was like, these are done. And I took time. I was exhausted. So I'm truly exhausted. And yeah, we need a few days and then we'll come back. I'm sure more news will come out and we'll come back and sort of like address it. But for now, it's like, the rest of the playoffs got to play out. And it's been a while since the Warriors. I mean, obviously not that long ago, because 2 years ago we lost the play-in, but it's been a while really since like we've had a team that we thought could make a finals run that didn't. So,
Mm.
you're talking about a whole another month of basketball. The Heat advance tonight. We'll find out what's going to happen in Sixers Celtics. And we already know the Western Conference Finals. So, I think Denver will come out of that.
I agree.
I will be rooting for Denver to come out of it also, but I think Denver will come out of that. And then in the East, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, it would be, I guess, sort of cool to see the whole like center versus center, I guess.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, the Sixers have won 2 games in Boston already, so they're capable.
Yeah.
But I don't know what version of Harden's going to show up.
Yeah. I think the Celtics are going to win. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I think they're going to win.
I think they're going to win too, but Celtics Denver finals, that doesn't really move me.
You said Denver Celtics finals doesn't move you?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Unfortunately, I
people
think
want
we're going to get
Lakers.
Denver in the finals.
Huh?
I say, unfortunately, I think we're going to get Denver in the finals, and that
No, I
is
don't mind it
going to
being
inevitably.
Denver. But what I'm saying is like, look, I know like they're like people are pushing for like this Lakers Celtics thing, but like that's not a real rivalry anymore. I don't even know like why they're trying to like
Yeah.
it's not a thing. And I don't think anything is going to see ratings like the Warriors now that they're out. So I'm going to be curious to see that as we watch.
Right. The only thing close to it would be Lakers Celtics, but I don't think it would match anything with the Warriors. But
No.
yeah, I think from a basketball standpoint, Denver Philly would be pretty cool to watch after the discussions of MVP for the last
Right.
3
That's what I'm
seasons in
saying.
a
There's
row.
just more interesting storylines,
Hmm.
So I mean, I like the Celtics. I want them to advance, but I don't think they just haven't looked consistent and strong. So
Hmm.
I don't
They're just
know.
like how the Warriors were this season. They just got a little bit more talent throughout their roster,
Mhm.
so they make it work a little bit better. And they're in the East. But
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but I would be curious to, you know, Embiid versus Jokic. You know, Embiid would relish that.
Yeah, I think they both would. I think it would be a one of the matchups for like an all-time matchup, I think. Um, so that would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Embiid does not make it to the to the Eastern Conference Finals, um, people gonna be dragging him. So we'll see. We'll see what that game is gonna look like. At the end of the day, he's the best player in the series. So we'll see if he'll be able to go into Boston and do
Hmm.
anything. Um, if the Heat play either one of those teams, do you think they can beat either one of them?
Somehow they are capable, deep down, they are capable of pulling out something crazy, but I do not think they will. Um, but you just never know with that team. Apparently, they can just morph into any team they need to be to beat anybody at any time. So that team makes absolutely no sense. They were trash from three all season. Now all of a sudden they're just hitting every three. Uh, but it don't matter. I think Heat or Knicks. Or did the Heat close out?
No,
They
Heat
did close it out,
won.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Heat closed it out. So the Heat, yeah, they would lose to either one of those teams. I think probably in 5 or 6 games.
Will be interesting to see. Well, we'll know tomorrow. I think Celtics is the only game on tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
No, they play Sunday.
Sunday?
As a now that I think about it, they play Sunday. I'm pretty sure because they wanted. I
Why
think the
are
NBA
there no
wanted both
games
game
tomorrow
sevens.
night? I had noticed that
Not
from the
sure.
schedule before though, like that there was no games tomorrow. What is there something happening tomorrow?
No, I think they just planned on if possible to have that Denver Phoenix game seven on Saturday, and it just isn't happening. So they just put you know now it's nothing there.
But Denver and Phoenix, I don't think so. I think game 7 would have been the same day as the Celtics. I believe it was supposed to be Sunday
Oh, then
because
yeah, I
they
don't
both
know. Must
played
be.
last night. 'Cause I remember I was looking at the schedule from before and I'm like, why are there no games on that Saturday?
Oh, I don't know. That's weird.
Oh, so there's no basketball tomorrow?
Nope. But a part of that Shams article, they did mention Draymond Green, and it says the Warriors are intending to pretty much keep him, extend him, or restructure his contract completely after he opts out. And I mean, he's been on record saying that he does not want to play past the year 2026.
Mhm.
I think he said he went 4 more years or 3 more years, including this one or something like that. So it'll probably be something around, you know, 70 million over the next 3 seasons or something like that. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
so
We'll see how they do it. They got a huge summer. I mean, this summer, if they do it right, they should be able to compete for another championship, if not win another championship, within one of the next 2 to 3 seasons. Like by the time Steph is at the end of this current contract, 2026, I personally think it wouldn't be like now it would be a failure if they don't get at least one more. That's all I'm saying. You got a player of this caliber. He's not going to really slow down anytime soon. Barring any injury, right? Knock on wood, he should be able to maintain an MVP level at the very least, right? I think right now he's at above MVP level, like best player in the league level. But if he was still just MVP level flat, they should be able to compete for a championship 2 3 seasons, right? Next 2 3 seasons, they just got to make sure the team around him is championship level. And this season, they did not deliver that.
I mean the goal should be to try to get 2 more, to be honest. So that should be the goal.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, if they play their cards right, they can do that. I don't see why not.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We will see. Yeah, I mean,
We'll
we
see.
already started to hear the reports about Draymond staying, so I didn't think Draymond was going anywhere, and we know that Klay has at least one more year, so the core is staying, but they're gonna also be exploring trades. And I honestly think if you're talking about like who are the safest people on this team, like I think anyone they can consider like unloading, but I would say in terms of level of safety, I would bet it's Steph, Dre, and I might argue it's even Wiggins before Klay.
Oh yeah, I mean, because Wiggins makes half of what Clay makes at this point now.
Yeah.
He's under. I think he's probably underpaid for his value. Um, and then Looney as well, so underpaid. So they're safe. Like it's the guys who you looking at like, okay, it's probably overpay. Jordan, Clay, overpay. So yeah,
I don't know what
I
they
mean,
do
then the
though.
young guys who are hmm?
I said I just
No,
don't
I'm
know what
saying,
they
and the
do.
young guys.
Yeah, but like, is anyone looking at Klay or Jordan and being like, yeah, I don't know that they're gonna get great value for them.
I think Jordan, you can get pretty good value because he's so young, and there are definitely teams out here that are willing to gamble that don't have championship aspirations that just want a high scoring guard that's young that they can, build their team with. You look at a team like Orlando has been brought up a lot, even the Wizards, where you potentially send Jordan out, Brooklyn maybe potentially send Jordan out, um, and not necessarily get back a star, but just get back multiple depth pieces. I think that's a win for the Warriors, depending on who they bring back. But like I said, you got skill sets that you need to have filled. They had way too many skill sets that were just vacant this season, and it showed up, and it just made them. That's why it seemed like one game they're really good and one game they're not good, because it's like when their strengths are hitting, they're beating anybody. When their weaknesses are on full display, it is extremely difficult for them to win, and that's why they could not string together consistency over the course of the season and even in the playoffs. So you fill in those gaps, then you have a much better chance of being consistent.
I would like the Nuggets to dismantle the Lakers in like 5, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to watch. They just got so much offense that some of the things the Lakers were doing defensively, it just, I mean, it's a completely different series, right? There is no Draymond and Looney to sag off. There is no Gary Payton to sag off, right? Like literally everybody that they play can hit a three and will hit the three on you. So it should be a fun watch, right? We're gonna be hate watching, obviously, but
And they've been
um,
playing so well so far and in rhythm, because I mean, even the games that they
yeah,
went to the Phoenix and played, those were close games. It wasn't like,
hmm
so
this
it
is,
would be
I mean,
good to
obviously
see.
gonna be the best defense they've seen, but I still think they got a distinct talent advantage throughout their roster for sure.
And Jokic is the best player in the series.
I think so, but I
Mhm.
mean, sample sizes and stuff like that can get a little weird. Like Steph was the best player in this series, like overall, but we can probably say Anthony Davis might have had a better series, right? So it just
Yeah, no, no,
depends.
no. I get that. I'm just saying that, like,
At face value, he should have the best. He should be the most impactful player because he's the best player.
yeah, I mean, I also feel confident now in saying that, like, Jokic is probably better than KD.
Yeah,
And I still
yeah,
think KD is like a top player in the league, but I just think that I mean, I think part of like him not being so efficient in that last series was fatigue. So I don't want to like completely just say like that's who Kevin Durant is now. But I just think there's some limitations now to him and what he can do.
I agree. I mean, he's done a hell of a job of being able to sustain superstar level around that Achilles injury, but it definitely zapped some stuff off of him, and he's older. So
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I know there was like some reports that like Braun left still wasn't going full force yet because he was like saving it. So I mean, I know he sort of like showed out tonight, but I don't think, we'll see. I mean, especially Jamal Murray at home. Jamal Murray at home is a different
Hmm.
animal.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good series.
So yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I'm for sure rooting for Denver and wanting Denver to win because at the end of the day, them damn Laker fans, they so excited. They back in my mentions again, but at the
Oh
end of the
yeah,
day,
they in mine too. It's cool though.
if you don't make it, like who cares? You in Cancun now.
Right.
You don't get
I
nothing for
mean,
beating us.
right. It is what it is, right? You take the L when you believe in your team and have confidence in your team and they don't win. You gotta, roll with the punches. It is what it is. On to next season. Y'all not winning the chip this year. It's cool. Right. Y'all gonna be joining us real soon. It's okay though.
Then they gonna be like, "Well, we beat y'all. Don't care. You in the
Right.
same place now."
Right. Y'all gonna be just like Klay, right? LeBron fans and Klay fans. We're gonna be throwing up the four together at the end of the season.
Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in with us. Hopefully y'all are feeling okay. Like, look, there's nothing honestly for this team to get where they did this season, despite everything, is honestly it's a level of accomplishment. We know over here it's all about championships, so of course we want more. But like when you consider the amount of time people missed, how up and down the
Hmm.
season was to get to the second round with basically just a starting five lineup, and even then at that point, not even all of them playing. It was like Steph
Oof.
and Looney, and sometimes Draymond, and sporadically
Hmm.
Klay. And then Wiggins. It wasn't all five each night. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yep.
So for them to even get as far as like, wow. So we retool. Like we said, the dynasty doesn't end, it retools.
Does
And
not.
we'll be back. There's gonna be prepare yourself. There's gonna be premature reactions and overreactions, and everyone like, oh, the dynasty's over. There's no. They said the dynasty was
They did
over
this before.
last
Right.
year.
Right. They said the Warriors wasn't winning no more chips after 2015 when they lost in 2016. They said the
Yeah.
dynasty was over in 2019. They said it was over in
Mhm.
2021. Now it's over again. All right. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we do know, they should be hungry next year.
Right.
They
We
should be
always know they
hungry
bounce
next
back.
year.
Hmm. I mean, if these are the same guys that we've known for all these years, they're going to come back better next season. Every time they've lost, other than 2020, where they were legitimately just on injury reserve and still trying to get their roster back at championship contention, they've come back better the season following a loss or an embarrassing loss or whatever you want to call it. And I
Hmm.
fully expect them to do the same this season or next season.
For sure. So yeah. So how are you feeling right now?
Like you said at the beginning of the pod, like it's not like relief. It's just like, oh, okay. It's like, season's over finally. It wasn't a great season.
No.
From like
We said
a
multiple
enjoyment
times during this
standpoint.
podcast that we're not enjoying this season.
Right. So it's kind of like a thank you is finally over. Obviously, we wanted it to end with a championship, but you don't win them all. Retool, come back better next season. Just like Steph said 2 seasons ago, you don't want to see us again. You don't want to see us next season. Uh, and they should be hungry. Rest in peace to the streaks of winning every playoff series in the West, winning every playoff series with Steph and Dre and Klay all play and start everything, and winning a road game in every. RIP to all those. Let's start it up again though. Get a new streak going.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks for tuning in with us, y'all. We appreciate you for rolling with us throughout this season. Um, yeah, can't tell you right now when the next pod is going to be, but we will come back with something. But yeah, just we appreciate y'all. So make sure you download, share, you know the drill. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram because we will definitely let y'all know when that next
Mhm.
episode's coming. But follow us at Golden Spaces Pod. And you know, let us know how you feel about the season. You know, give us a review. Let us know. Leave us a rating, 5 stars. It's appreciated. So until next time, guys. Until next year. But no, we'll be back before next year. But until next time, y'all, take care.